Do we have a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 7-0 on it. Thank you, Ms. Guerra.
Good job, Rebecca.
Number 12, we would like all of them to move this quickly.
Yes. Please.
Number 12 is consideration of a resolution authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a communication system agreement with Daly and Wells Communication Incorporated for purchase of a P25 Phase 2 simulcast system upgrade under the Harris Corporation HGAC by contract RA05-15 in substantially the attached form, not to exceed $5,733,692.16, and any documents related thereto. Mr. Hasty, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Bucky Hasty. I am the network administrator for the city of San Angelo. I oversee some IT functions of the city as well as the radio system. I wanted to talk about our current system real quick. I just got a short presentation to show you, just to kind of get y'all up to date on what we have and what we're moving towards. Our current system serves the police department, the fire department, and the city. And when I say city, I mean animal control, water permits, and the fire marshal, organizations like that. We purchased this system in 2007. The radios and the accessories themselves, the handhelds and the mobile devices, which are in the cars, they're reaching the end of their service life, which is usually around 8 years. The current site is a multi-site system. I've talked about that before. It basically means there's 2 independent radio sites, and when mobile radios travel across town, they switch towers, and there's a little 3 to 5 second delay to where they lose connectivity. It's more of an annoyance than anything, but there is a little officer safety issue if they're on something on a chase and they key up and it switches towers. That was kind of done as a money-saving technique when the original system was purchased, and that's what the radios roam between sites means. It is also uses an EDAX protocol. EDAX is a protocol, just means basically the language that the radios speak to one another with. It's a specific language that only this vendor can talk. So that's what we're trying to move away from with the new system. The new system is going to be a P25 Phase 2 protocol. So the language is going to be an open language, and it allows any brand of radio to hop onto our system as long as we allow it. It will also support Phase 1 and Phase 2 radios. Phase 1 is the older version of P25. That's just kind of in there just to let you know. Now, during the migration process, we're going to keep EDAX, that language, just to make the ease of transition, so there's no downtime with the system. And also, one of the most exciting things, y'all might not find it exciting, but I find it exciting, is the moving to a simulcast system, which is basically the opposite of the multicast system. Simulcast, the radio is going to be online the entire time. It's going to be on all 3 towers the whole time, so there's that roaming isn't going to happen. It's going to be seamless. When it goes from one tower to the other, there's not going to be a beep or a 5-second delay. It's going to be on constantly. Other benefits of this new system and upgrade is a 3rd tower site that we're adding on the north side of town. It's going to increase coverage, in-building coverage, specifically on the north side, and partly in the central part of town as well, but also it's going to extend us further out north of the city limits. I know they do ambulance runs out to the state school, and they've complained of coverage out there. This is going to tackle that head on. With these type of radio systems, they're no longer just radios and a repeater. You have computers backing them up, and computers are a big part of the infrastructure. Right now we have about 4 computers in a rack that are serving this system, keeping the database of the users, recording call activity. With this new system, we're going to a virtualized solution. And what virtualized means is you put many servers on one box. So we're going to have one high-dollar, high-reliability box that's going to have 4 servers residing inside of one box. That's what virtualization means. The radio, how the dispatchers dispatch calls is computer controlled now, and they actually grab a mouse and they click when they want to key up, or they can use their headset mic. But basically, it's a Windows XP computer that they use. As you may or may not know, XP reached end of life a couple years ago. It's dead in the water. there's really not an opportunity for us just to upgrade these. You have to get whole new systems. But what I want to stress here on these new consoles is that they're solid state, meaning there's no moving parts inside the new consoles. There's no fans. The hard drive is no longer a spindle type. It's a solid state hard drive. There's absolutely no moving parts. And 90% of the time when a computer fails, it's because of a moving part. A fan quits working, or that fan has sucked in too much dust into your computer and it covers something that needs some heat load taken off of it. That's a real important part of this new system. Also, of course, we're going to get new handhelds. As I said, they're reaching end of life. They're getting kind of worn out. We're getting new in-car radios and desktop radios. Now, another thing that I really like about the new system is we're going to get this software called Be On. And basically, it's going to be one of the servers that's going to reside on that virtualized server solution. And it's going to allow us to install an application on a phone, on an iPhone, on an Android, on a computer desktop that will allow somebody onto our radio system. So if one of the chiefs, myself, or anybody that we allow is outside of the city, outside of the state, even outside of the country, as long as they have a data connection, they'll be able to fire up that app and basically do whatever I give them permission to do. They can just listen, or in the instance of the chiefs, they will have the ability to key up on any channel and talk to their people even when they're out of the state. That's something that we've never had before, and which I know they want and they're really going to utilize. And that's also going to allow us, we reduced the amount of radios that we purchased with this system too. A lot of the people in the city have a radio sitting on their desk taking up space, and they dispatch the animal control guys, they dispatch permits guys, code compliance. I'm going to be able to install an application on their computer to where they can just dispatch. Instead of having to roll away from the computer and go over to the radio, they'll just open up that application and be able to dispatch straight from their computer. One of the big parts that's been brought up quite a bit with us recently is interoperability, which means talking with other agencies. Oops, I need to switch. The main thing I want to stress here is right now we have the ability to talk to whoever we want, when we want. We're going to keep all the current abilities, and right now our preferred method of talking to these other agencies is through the patch system, which y'all have heard me talk about before. Now, that being said, we're adding 3 components that is going to help us out quite a bit. You already heard me talk about P25. We're adding an interop gateway, which is basically just a piece of hardware that's going to allow us to plug anything into it, a radio, a whole new system, a data connection to a remote system that's going to let us communicate with any other agency that we want to talk to. Now, we held several meetings with Tom Green County and a representative who was representing the volunteer fire departments and other surrounding agencies. And what they wanted to do, they requested that we get a VHF repeater that is dedicated, a dedicated way for anybody to talk to us. It'll be a single repeater on one of our towers, and it will be a one-stop shop for coming in to our system. Instead of the way we like to do it, which is create a patch and just become a customer or a user on their system, this is going to allow them to become a customer on our system. Now, we are going to, the company that is giving or selling us this radio system has decided to go ahead and throw this in at no additional charge. So we are going to do the repeater, and we feel this will satisfy any concerns that those agencies have. That's what they recommended. That's what we're going to do.
Mayor, can I ask him a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So on this repeater, and I appreciate you adding this, Bucky, because you and I were in a meeting with the other officials. Will somebody be monitoring this repeater? Because if it's not monitored, it really serves no function. Is that right?
In my opinion, yes. It doesn't serve a function if nobody's going to monitor it.
Okay, so who would be? How would we determine then, Mayor or Daniel, how that works? That's really more of a policy issue.
Yes,
here
ma'am.
within the city? Okay.
Well, if I could, Mayor, that's a good question, Councilmember Grindstaff. My understanding is that there are staffing issues that go with being able to dedicate time to monitor that channel.
But if we're going to do this and we're going to have a better system, we're upgrading, I want to hear about this, I want to cover the staffing too, because this piece of equipment, if everybody agrees that it's kind of the missing piece in the prior proposal, it has to be monitored, or we don't need to be talking about it.
Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, I think we would want to get the public safety communications folks up here to help us with that staffing discussion. And the other thing is, I don't think everybody necessarily agrees that there is a missing piece or that this is a missing piece. So this is an accommodation, I think, that this vendor and our staff have developed.
But
to
in
try
his
to-
presentation, he says this will satisfy any concerns other agencies have regarding interoperability with the city of San Angelo. Welcome, Chief.
It satisfies their concerns, not our concerns.
Right, but
Let me step in. Since PSC is under me, I'll go ahead and address the staffing issues. The whole purpose that we stayed with the patch system that we've had that seems to work for us and keeps everybody happy is because we don't have staff to monitor a specific channel, which we'll call, it's Texas Law 2 is what we're going to call it, but we used to have inner city. And even when we had inner city, we didn't have anybody monitoring that. That was back when I was a dispatcher. So basically, it is. We're doing this to satisfy everybody's question, but the reason that we had the patch was so we would know someone was actually there. So if somebody requested this channel, they would call dispatch and say, I need you to patch me through to SO. Then our dispatchers would know we're doing a patch, we would monitor that channel for that time being that their patch is being used. Now we won't be doing that. So they're still going to have to call dispatch and say, I need somebody to go here. The only difference is we're not going to spend the extra 3 seconds doing the patch. It's just going to be there. Did that answer your question? And as far as staffing,
monitoring.
okay, yeah, I can't increase the staffing any more than when we're approved 25 people.
So it's a council issue.
Well, no. We've got 13 dispatchers right now. We can't keep dispatchers. We can't hire dispatchers. And so we've got, 12 vacancies. And even then, if we were fully staffed, I don't know if I would be able to assign someone to monitor a channel that nobody's ever going to use unless there's a critical incident, which at that time, we'll be monitoring the channel. It's been a political nightmare, just to say the least.
I know, we're all living it with you.
Yep,
But I think it's fair to say that staffing is a concern of yours.
absolutely.
Okay.
Charlotte?
Chief, you just said you had 12 agencies, and at Officer Hasty's last presentation, he said
Officer
14
Hasty?
agencies.
No, vacancies.
Oh, vacancies. I'm
Vacancies.
sorry, my mistake. But I wanted to ask about the 14 agencies, police enforcement type agencies that we have here in the area. I am real curious to know if this system is going to operate with all 14 of those agencies. That's what you had alluded to before, but in conversations, I don't think that it is. Can you?
The current one does as well, with the patch system. The current one does. With the additional parts that we're adding, the P25 and the interop gateway, it's going to facilitate that to where it's a little bit easier to do so. But the current one does that we have with the patch system. And with adding this VHF repeater, it's just gonna, just one more way. We're adding ways to communicate with these agencies as per their request.
Okay, where is the proposed tower site, the third tower site? Where do you propose putting that?
North side of town, really to the northeast of the Coliseum in a vacant, it's a lot that the city owns that's utilized by the Rodeo Association. They park their trailers there every now and then, and we're going to kind of tuck it away in the corner. We've already got permission. We've spoken with them, and they're okay with it.
Okay, and the tower site, construction in the tower is in this bid amount?
No, ma'am.
Oh, how much is that?
That's on my last page.
Oh, okay. What is the dollar trade-in? You'd mentioned that there was a trade-in for our existing system. What amount is that?
It is approximately $1.45 million, and that's included already in the price.
$1.45 million.
Yes, sir.
So it lowers this 5.7 price. Does it go down? Or?
No, 5.7 is the price. That already includes the discount.
Oh.
But the 5.7 doesn't include the additional 200,000 let's see, cost. The additional cost for the purchase and construction of the new tower site. So you're estimating that that's going to be approximately $200,000?
Yes, ma'am. And we were funded through this. Funds were approved on January 7th for $6 million, and that was the number that I thought I could get this done with, and I'm nailing it. It's turning out to be a good number.
So we're getting a $7.5 million system for $6 million.
Basically, but we're selling our old stuff too.
Is that your presentation, Bucky?
I'd like to talk a little bit about the vendor. They're here with us today. They're an authorized Harris dealer based in San Antonio, Texas. Their name's Daly & Wells Communications Incorporated. We've been working with them since 2007, and these model of radios that we've used have just been fantastic. The police chief and the fire chief will both say this is the brand we want. These radios have just been a great asset to the city. Low failure rate. We've had 100% uptime on the radio system since it was installed, and it's never gone down. Similar systems have been sold in the area to Lubbock, Midland, Lee County, Hobbs, New Mexico, Montgomery County, and some of the bigger cities as well. San Antonio has this system. LA County and City and Fort Hood also have this system that we're installing. So there's some big cities that, and there's other big cities that haven't officially. They're going through what I'm going through right now, trying to get the contract approved. But this is a good system in big cities. This is top of the line stuff. This is really good stuff. And we went over the pricing, and as I said, $200,000 is going to add not just a tower, but there's also going to be a shelter that has a generator, for the backup power, air conditioner, electrical, and I'm looking at about $200,000 for that. And that's pretty firm price right now. I'm just waiting for approval, final approval on where I can put the tower.
Bucky, Mason Chief Dunn a while ago. Chief, I know you're sitting back there. Would you like to come up here and kind of talk about the system as well? Just get your impressions on that and just get your input, really.
As Bucky said, we've been operating under this since 2007, and I can assure you the firemen will let you know if there's a radio issue in the buildings. We have virtually had no radio issues since we went to this system. Before, we had constant handheld failure. Just skip from the previous system, which is where you have kind of blackout stuff. We've had no problems with this system. The radios have worked fantastic. Bucky was talking, he didn't mention something a little bit about that repeater that they're going to put up. That is not the best solution for that. That severely limits the range. When you do that, the better system, which will utilize all three towers, is using that patch. If they choose to put that repeater on there, it will be a very limited area that thing will function in. So, I mean, it was done because they wanted a static channel, but that is not the best way to do it. As he said, I'm not going to have my personnel flipping back and forth between channels when a dispatcher can go volunteer fire 1 wants to talk to fire on channel fire 2, and they can go punch and connect those two channels, and no one has to switch a channel, especially when they're in the middle of an operation. Or PD, if they're in a car chase, you don't want an officer sitting over there running 80 mile an hour, reaching down, flipping in his radio channel when the dispatch can connect the sheriff's office to channel 3 or whatever channel they happen to be operating on. That is a very much a safety issue in that aspect. So,
Chief Dunn, I'm relying on you and Chief Vasquez to tell me that this system is the best safety for the man in the field. I want to know that our officers in the field, if they need help, officer needs help, that they can dispatch, call out, wherever, that this is the better system for that.
This is, and it has been since 2007. We operate under an 800 megahertz system, which for an urban environment such as what police and we operate in, they penetrate the buildings better and get the signals inside buildings. Now, what the sheriff's office and DPS operate under is a 150 megahertz system, which has more range, but it doesn't get into the tighter areas. It's great for the patrol cars running down the highway. It's not the best system for what we use inside this urban environment.
What did we operate prior to 2007? Were we still?
We were on 800 since '94 with E.F. Johnson, I believe, trunking system.
Yeah, EFJ was
Prior to that, it was 150, It's when they started breaking the spectrums up in the mid-90s.
Rodney, you had a question?
What's the lifespan?
That's,
Basically the same as the other one, on the mobiles and portables, around 8 years, and on the infrastructure, 10 to 12 years.
So $750,000 a year for radios?
Johnny?
Bucky, are you getting any feedback from Los Angeles or San Antonio or just any other cities that have used it? Any kinks in the system?
We go to a lot of Daily Wells, make sure that they keep us involved with the users groups. We went to Harris Users Group about a month ago, Sergeant Carpenter and Lieutenant Byrd, and there was fire representatives there too, some of the assistant chiefs, and we talked to hundreds of people that have Harris radios and have this system, and all of them had nothing but positive things to say about it. Harris is real supportive of their system. They treat their customers nice, and not only that, Daily Wells is one of the most supportive organizations that I've ever worked with. They've helped me out in tight spots. They'll have a technician here in 2.5 hours if I've got just a minor problem. They'll have somebody here. They've been a real supportive organization. But from a hardware standpoint, the people that I've talked to love Harris radios and preach them to everybody.
I'm in support of something that gets us out of the dark ages, and if this is compatible to all the other agencies involved in this, Mayor, are you looking for a motion?
Gonna have to have one before we can move forward.
If this includes the purchase and construction of the tower, the whole thing.
I'm going to have to come back with the tower. I don't have the...
Okay, so we're just doing the radio.
Yes, this will get us started. The tower's not slated to break ground
Well,
until
they now
after August.
moved for approval of this item, authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute, communication system with Daily and Wells Communications. And just to state it, I'll make a motion to approve it as is.
As presented?
As presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do I have further comment from council?
I have a question for Chief Vasquez. We're all trying to do the best thing, and we hear a lot of information from the other agencies, and what little I understand, I can understand the 800 megahertz versus 150. It's really a different application, if you will. What they're going to use most, what y'all are going to use most. Can you explain to me, pick another city, Dallas, Austin, Houston, Fort Worth, any of them. Can you tell us how those agencies would be, what frequency they would be working on versus what their police department in a more urban, denser environment, fire departments, how they would look?
Almost all municipalities are on 800 megahertz. That's what everybody's using that. Again, it's the sheriff's departments and the DPS, the ones that are on the highway, they're using 150, but most cities are using exactly what we're using. Abilene has a system that we're using. They're with Harris or Daily Wells.
And how do they handle the interoperability issue between these two distinct frequencies?
A patch.
Okay.
Explain the patch.
Bucky?
No, we want you to do it. No, I'm
Okay,
kidding.
I can do it. I can do it. Basically,
I don't, Bucky can,
yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it
sounds
in
like a
layman terms.
smoker's patch. I know
He's a smart guy.
Give it to
The
Bucky.
patch basically means is we can communicate with any other agency with any type of radio. We can do that now with our current system. There's been a lot of misinformation talking about our current system that's not factual. We can do that, but we do it with a patch. Basically, you contact dispatch. You say, I need to speak to DPS, okay, to have them meet us on this channel. We patch DPS. Still, the dispatcher has to call the other dispatcher at DPS and tell them have that unit go to this channel, and we communicate via on the radio. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's what a patch is.
It's human communication.
It's what it is. So I made a joke the other day. I said, now all we're going to do is we're going to have the police officer in the street is going to call the sheriff's deputy on their cell phone and say, meet me on this channel so we can talk. And they're going to go to the channel and talk. Basically, it's just going to be an open channel all the time instead of us doing the patch, which to me is a safety issue. I like the fact that the officers or deputies or whoever's going to go to this Texas Law 2 has to have the patch, because a dispatcher knows that this officer is leaving their primary channel and going to this channel that's not monitored.
But it's also a time issue. If you're having to communicate twice for them to get on the same line, that takes time.
Sure, but the patch is, 1, 2, 3, patch, done. But they're still going to have to do that communication with the dispatchers because nobody's monitoring this channel. And this channel, fire will tell you, Brian will tell you that they don't scan their channels because there's too much radio traffic going on. And there's a lot of radio traffic going on. And so if you were to scan that channel or to have that channel in your scan, you're still scanning everything else as well. And it's just troublesome. But, this is our way to accommodate the desires of the other agencies or groups, and if they want that channel, it's not a problem for us.
Any other questions? Public? Yes, sir.
I just got one. Now, we negotiated the price with them?
It's been bid through the HGAC by contract. It's a purchasing co-op.
Okay.
The state, I believe the state negotiates those prices for us.
Okay.
All right.
Public comment on this item before we vote.
Houston, Galveston.
Area council, their COG.
Houston, Galveston.
Houston, Galveston area
Council.
Council of Governments.
Council of Governments.
And this was budgeted, so.
Motion has been made that we approve this as listed or as written. It has been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Put a 6-1 on that one. We are now to number 13, which is discussion, consideration, and possible action related to proposals from Catalyst Urban Development